Today I just want to put my gratitude to Dzongsar Khyentse for his talks in Rigpa centres into context. We had a saying when I grew up, which was, be grateful for small mercies. Now, that saying referred to instances where you didn't expect very much, where things were, pretty tough. And so any little move in the right direction, anything that helped you in any small way at all, was really worth being grateful for. And that's exactly where that gratitude came from. You see, I didn't expect anything good to come out of those talks. I expected that there would just be a complete and blanket continuation of the thou shalt not criticize thy Lama, and if you do so you'll go to hell and blah 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 and all that stuff. Now, okay, in some ways that was all we got, but in actual fact it was a lot better than what I thought it was going to be. The thing is that I don't need Dzongsar Khyentse or anybody else to tell me that what Dzongsar Rinpoche did was wrong. I can work that out for myself. However, there are a lot of people around, particularly people who are still in Rigpa, who apparently need a Lama to tell them what to think. And I knew this, so I knew that they were all going to be listening to Dzongsar Khyentse, particularly because they'd chosen him to be one of their guiding lights. Yeah. So my perspective in looking at this was like, okay, here's somebody they're all going to be listening to. So what he says is important, not for me, not even for all the people who already know that, on one hand we have lamas like him who think a certain way, and on the other hand we have lamas like His Holiness who have a much more enlightened view on these things. But it's important for people who, for some reason or other, are only going to listen to Rigpa-sanctioned lamas. So for those people, what he said was going to be really, really important. And that's why I had some gratitude, because he did say some stuff that if you were a person who is still thinking that Dzongsar Rinpoche did no wrong, then by the time you'd finished listening to Dzongsar Khyentse's talks, you really couldn't be still thinking that he'd done no wrong. Unless you just didn't hear when Dzongsar Khyentse said quite clearly that a Lama has a responsibility not to damage the seed of bodhicitta, pure perception, and devotion in a student. So if you can look at the kind of things that Dzongsar Rinpoche has done and see the effect that it's had on the people involved, and think that there was no damage done to their devotion, their pure perception and their bodhicitta, then you're really not singing clearly. So that's where the gratitude came from, because those people really did need to hear that. And they needed to hear it from somebody who they were looking up to as being their guide. He did say that people had been hurt and that Dzongsar Rinpoche and Rigpa had to deal with it. Now, considering how many people in the organisation have been not wanting to deal with it, that's all very helpful. There's also the fact that, he did take some questions and attempt to answer them. Yeah, we know he didn't actually answer the questions, but he kind of almost got there. It was a step in the right direction. All I'm saying is the gratitude that I expressed was conditional. It was conditional on the fact that I didn't expect any concessions at all. I really didn't. What I said doesn't mean that I recommend Dzongsar Khyentse as a teacher. His emphasis on saying that you mustn't criticize no matter what is going on, and that you know, you must obey, and okay, even if maybe you can't obey, you'd still have the desire to obey maybe next life. All of that stuff, you know, for me personally, you know, I wouldn't go near somebody with that attitude with a barge pole as far as entrusting them to be my spiritual guide, because I've been there, I've done that, and look what happened, you know. You give somebody that kind of power over you, they can abuse it, okay? And I mean, I'm not going to go into the, you know, 1 foot in samsara, 1 foot in nirvana kind of stuff that he went into. He's very skilled at making you feel that by joining the Vajrayana, you know, you're really getting in there and you're really doing the right thing, and that by accepting, you know, the full control stuff, you know, that you're getting the real thing. But I think what we need to remember is that we do have a choice. We have a choice of teachers, and he did emphasize that too, of course. Yes, how we choose our teachers, very, 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 very important. And, you know, my personal advice would be not to choose anybody who says that you shouldn't criticize them. Sorry, I don't care what the reasoning is. No, just wouldn't accept it. Sorry, that's me, personally. And, you know, people can wag their fingers and say, I don't get it, and all this kind of stuff. But even so, there are perfectly good lamas who don't say that. So I choose someone who does, because he thinks he's got it right and the others have got it wrong. Hang on a minute, doesn't that sound a little cultish? Only we have the answers. Yeah, so all of that. So yeah, it was being grateful for small mercies, and you know, and I do really appreciate the fact that he tried, and, you know, he did put himself out there, and all that kind of stuff, okay? And I hope that some movement forward in Rigpa might come from his talks. Now, of course, he's since stepped back, doesn't want to have anything more to do with the whole abuse issue, and sure, I can understand that. You know, you put yourself out there and, you know, people come out and say terrible things about you, you know. That's what happens when you actually speak up, put yourself out publicly. Dzongsar Khyentse's been getting some negative press, and there's no doubt about it, he does deserve some of it. However, I think there's a lot of stuff flying around that may not be true, and we need to just be careful when we're listening to people talk about anyone, and ask, well, did that person actually see that themselves? Do they know that for sure? Or are they talking about something they've heard from someone else, or something, you know, they'd actually like, you know, would like to be true? You know, because hearsay and that kind of stuff, you know, it just doesn't really help us sort anything out in the end. It seems to me, from talking to people who were in the inner circle, or close to the inner circle, that it's extremely unlikely that Dzongsar Khyentse didn't have some idea what was going on. How much of an idea he had, who knows? Who can say? We don't know. So my gratitude to Dzongsar Khyentse should be seen within that very specific framework. I did want to show some gratitude for what he did, no matter how limited it was, and, you know, no matter his flaws as a teacher, human being, whatever, you know. I don't know the guy, so I can't really say anything about that. So that's really all that was, and you know, I'm doing my best too, and I hope people will give me a little bit of credit for the fact that I'm doing my best as well, despite my own personal flaws and ignorances and all of that. At least I'm not trying to be a teacher. Good heavens, that's a terrible job. So that's it for today. If you like my videos, please do like them. Click the little like button, and subscribe to the channel, and better still, inspire me to keep going by joining my Patreon community. Be a patron, and you'll get some special stuff, personal stuff that I don't share with everyone. So thank you very much for listening, I think. Bye.